Good morning. Good morning. It's exciting to be here with you this morning. I know that you've been patiently waiting, and I am thrilled to help you work through our fourth day of this broadcast. Now, every high performer eventually hits this particular block. Every high performer. Insight is no longer enough when you're here. One thing that has to change is, of course, your identity. So it don't matter how successful you have ever been, you are going to hit the neurological ceiling. People call it the glass ceiling. Why? Because you have to grow. And you'll get to a certain place where you know just enough to keep you where you are. But in order to get to the next level, you'll have to grow into all that you desire from there on. And then you're going to get to another level and you need to grow again to be able to fulfill the dreams and the desires that you have. This particular ceiling can become frustrating for many people. For others, it requires reflection. For some, they just pause there and, like Cappy, they cap off right there and start becoming settlers. But that's not you. What if you knew that you could change your situation at any given time based on the thoughts that you're thinking, and that you do have the ability to change into the person who is worthy of the goal that you're desiring? What if? What if you knew for sure that you don't have to stay stuck? What if you have the power to get your feet off of the brake and bring the power that's inside of you to surface, ultimately transforming your life and the life of so many others? Truth is, you can. Will you continue to be admiring your future self, or truly will you become the person that holds that future self in high esteem and deliver on the results that you truly want for your life? Will you? The call is yours. No one can prevent you from being the uttermost success that you want. No circumstances can prevent you from gaining the success that you desire. The only thing that stands between you and the success that you desire is your identity. Some people call it standards. Some call it self-image. Some call it a strong level of confidence. Whatever you want to call it, the idea is, in order for you to succeed, you must become the person that attracts that level of success. Earlier on this week, we talked about your results audit, your performance 360-degree performance audit, to become brutally honest with where you are as an individual, and then fill the gap between where you are to where you truly want to be. Then we moved into the recoding our internal software to match the desires that we have for our lives and the goals that we have. Yesterday, we moved into mind reset, reshaping the way we see things, or perspective on life, or perspective on our dreams, our goals, their desires. We talked about you formulating a new self in order to be able to create the success that you want. Mind reset. Today, we're going to dive deep into your internal narrative. Who are you? Who's the leader inside? Who do you need to become in order? We'll always go back there, in order to have what you want. You do not have to guess. You don't. You don't have to guess. You can start commanding. And the way to command is to understand who you really are. Now, if we continue to be able to do the things that we've always done, we'll continue to get the same results we've always gotten. You've heard that all the time. And we might just by now understand it, hear it so often that we just kind of roll it off our tongue. And we then say it's insanity. But do we really think how insane it is in such a way that we change it? And oftentimes we may say these phrases and sayings, but we spend no time to reflect on what it really means. But most importantly, we don't take the time to implement what we have learned once we have assessed what that really means. Outward success can hide under misalignment. In other words, you are successful, but you're misaligned. And when you're successful and misaligned, you are going to feel friction, tension, and even grief. The other thing is that some standards should be firm, but in every situation, you keep negotiating these standards. Leadership comes in here. You know what it is that you want. You have plotted it, you have charted it, you know your desires, you have written it down. And by now, if you're here, you would have basically written out what you truly desire. I want to give kudos here to Valerie Rich. I saw your message on what will I do in order to start immediately implementing, taking action in terms of what it is that I truly desire. In those actions came something prior to it. Became a thought. That thought gave you an image, and that image caused you to take action. However, one of the key elements of your thought is that it has to be aligned with what you truly desire for your life. And if alignment is not there, again, there is always going to be friction. Living in contradiction exhausts even the strongest leaders. If you are saying this and doing this, then there is a sense of ambiguity, and ultimately there is no clarity. And when there is no clarity, then of course we make missteps. It is said that order is the very first law. Order is the first law. And if your life is not in order, if your steps are not in order, order your steps, then of course there is no clarity. And if there's no clarity, something else comes into play. You do become frustrated. And then you take haphazard action, which leads to haphazard results, which leads to an unfulfilled life. So here we're looking at embodiment of the person that you want to become, evidence, and the legacy that you will leave, or the legacy that you're building. What will others say about you? What will others say about who you are? Internal coding. Once you decide what it is that you want and you have gained clarity, then of course you can move confidently towards the desires. Let's take a moment to look at what are some of the ways that we get trapped into staying the same person and delivering the same results. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Recoding your internal narrative, day 4, closing the identity gap between where you are and where you belong. Where you belong is based on your own decision of what you want to do with your life. But then, once you have made that decision, we must now step into what will it cause if I stay the same, and what will happen if I improve. Trying versus being is a paradox. I'm trying versus I'm being. Trying is where you're plugging in all the ideas, all the thoughts, hoping that they will all lead you to the results that you want. But once your identity, your being is not engaged in that, of course, you're going to be on a roller coaster. You will have the success that you want, but it will be temporary. I remember my first year growing my business to a particular level. I was excited. It was fun. I was with the crowd and the motion was there. People were moving forward. And so as a result, anything that's in motion, you jump with the motion and you start moving in the direction of where everyone else is moving. And it's a great feeling. But in the process of that, you're going to, at the end, realize that what did I do? How did I actually get there? It's what we call unconscious competence. So you're running this race and you get there and you win, but you cannot figure out how you really made it happen. I remember clearly saying to myself, wait a minute, how did that happen? How did I make this happen? Because in order to reproduce it, I got to know what I did. And you're kind of filling in the blanks and putting the puzzle together. I did this, I did that, I did this, I held events there, I did this. But somehow there is still not complete clarity as to what you did, and you don't see how it led to the results that you got. You just know that you got the results. What happened there is that you moved with the activities, but the person you were has not yet changed. So what's going to happen? If you've ever gone forward and backward, that is a part of the process. So you get there and you win. But once you win, you cannot maintain that win because the individual has not changed. So the individual goes back to who they know they are. It's a comfortable place. And of course, it's your default. So you're going to run back to default. Now, the default person doesn't know how to be that successful. So the default start operating the way you used to operate. You start doing the same activities, you're around the same friends, you're using that mindset to be able to guide you again, but it is not the mindset or the mind shift that got you to the results that you won. Now, in order to shift that, you now have to take yourself mentally to where your goal resides. Take yourself to where your goal resides. It's an effortless way. So this individual has to become the person that success comes from. Now, the hustle trap focuses purely on your to-do list. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, without shifting your internal state, without shifting who you really are. This creates an endless cycle of busy work. So you're always busy. I am busy. I'm doing everything that I know how to do that is able to get me to that first level. I'm doing everything that I know how to do. I'm doing what the high achievers are doing. I'm doing even better than they're doing, but somehow I'm not getting the results that I want. And this endless busy work cycle, looking endlessly for a breakthrough, and it's not coming. You're constantly moving, but never truly advancing toward your vision. But you're moving. You're consistently moving. You've been moving for 1 year. You've been moving for 5 years. You've been moving for 10 years. But somehow you still have not hit the goal. Anyone would be frustrated. Well, the frustration is over, my friends, because you will know exactly what's causing that. It's nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with the process that you're running. What is wrong is that you are operating on a different frequency than your goal is at. And if you're on a 1010 dial, you cannot get 107.5 FM. If you're listening to ABC, you're not going to get what's on CNN. So you've got to move where your goal resides so you can gain the frequency that resides there. And all things prerequisite to that goal will join you exactly on that frequency. Speaking of frequency, now your identity shift, moving from I'm trying to be a leader to I am a leader. Herein merges something you're so familiar with called affirmations, self-commands, whatever you want to call them. They move in to be able to help you to become what you actually want. So instead of saying I'm trying to be a leader, you now move into I am, the I am. I am trying is when the activities are there. You're doing this and this and that, and you're pulling all of these activities together in your to-do list. You're trying. You're plenty trying, kids would say. I'm plenty trying, mom. I'm plenty trying. You're plenty trying. But the bottom line is, trying will not get you there. You have to be there. You have to be there. So you want to change your language from I'm trying to I am. This fundamental shift transforms the quality of every decision you make. Okay, so now that I am, I'm now making decisions from the place that I am instead of I'm trying. When you embody the identity rather than chase it, your actions naturally align with your highest potential and success becomes inevitable. We often talk about trees, and we know that an orange tree is going to produce oranges. The alignment is there. If you plant a seed in the ground, that orange seed in the ground, it is going to pull all things associated with the nourishment of that orange tree. Anything else that cannot facilitate the growth of that orange tree will not find its way there. When you decide who you choose to be, everything associated with that decision, decision, decide who you want to be, all things prerequisite will join you there. And the road will become a lot easier. So if your life is in a place of mental turmoil, I've been there. If you're in a place of being unsure, I've been there. If you've been in a place where you feel like you've given this everything you got and you're not seeing the results, I've been there. I want to implore you today to take a look at who am I being? And am I making decisions from the person I choose to be rather than from the person, my old self, the person of yesterday that is giving you the result of today? Now, how do you recode? What is the recode methodology that goes behind all of this? Transforming your internal operating system with these 3 to 4 points will ultimately get you exactly where you're going. So first, let us think about what we're thinking about. Angela Moore likes to share that. We got to think about what we're thinking about, and that is right. You got to think about what you're thinking about because your thinking is going to give you images that you will act upon. So if you're thinking about something that's not in alignment with what it is that the clarity, the decision you made earlier for your life, then of course you're going to get the results that you do not want. I've been around a lot of people and I've heard so many people talk about all the things that they do not want. In fact, when I'm doing an interview with anyone and I ask, what do you want? What do you really want? You want to know what's frightening? Wait for this. What is frightening is I always hear what people do not want. So the conversation from what do you really want? You'll start hearing all the things that they do not want, all the things that has prevented them from getting what they want. But very few people go directly to this is what I want. You'll hear stories like, I've been trying to do that for whatever, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to have bad health. I don't want to. But you don't normally hear first and foremost, I want to be able to create this kind of income. I want to be able to have these kinds of relationships, harmonious relationships, ever increasing income. I want this specific income. And then there's another thing that happens is that most people will tell you when you ask what kind of income they want to make, they will give you large numbers. However, their self-image is not aligned with those numbers either. And because the self-image is not aligned with those large numbers, you will hear them say, how much a week would you like to make? And it always resides around, okay, I'd probably like to make 5,000 or 10,000 a week or $30,000 a week. And I'll proceed to ask afterwards, what's the highest you've ever made? And the person will share what they have ever made, and it's miles away from where they are in terms of their identity around money. This is how I view money. Your results expose you all the time. So the income you're making is based on your ideas around money. And so they'll give you that amount, but then it would be, okay, I want to make $10,000 each week, but right now I'm making $2,000 or $3,000 a week. The gap between what you are making and where the amount that you actually want is your identity gap. That is the area that you will need to close in order to get to that income. And as long as that gap stays open, it will always be a gap. Now, once you gain clarity on that thought, that if you're wanting something up here or over here and you're here, there is in fact a gap. And your job is to close that gap by the person you are being. That's the decision that you make in order to lead powerfully and guide yourself to the level of success that is inevitable. Now, I want to leave you with this thought. Imagine that you reset, you recode the way you view yourself and the way you view life, the way you view the words that comes from you. And you're now living the life that you actually desire. You embody the individual that you choose to become. You walk like her. You talk like him. You dress like the individual. You make decisions from that state, from this new identity. And now you're living the life where your relations are plenty and harmonious. Your income is soaring month after month after month. You hear the notifications coming in of deposits made in your account from numerous sources. Your career starts expanding and you start attracting greater relationship, greater team members, greater work associates who are hungry for success and who understands that their identity is what leads them to the success that they desire. And so you have opportunities popping up around you like never before. And you're engaged and you're excited about your new life. Your health is at its peak. You're eating well because you're making decisions from the place of a healthy person. You're emotionally fulfilled because you're making decisions from the place of a happy person. Your spiritual growth is inevitable because you're making decisions from the place of somebody who is spiritually aligned. Your relationship at home is better because you're making decisions from the person who is living a harmonious life. Your income is swelling because you're making decisions from the place of a seven-figure and beyond earner. You're making decisions from your new identity. And when you're making decisions from your new identity, a new world arrives in front of your face and you love yourself even more. Take the step today And do yourself a favor. Write out with complete clarity, what do I want my life to look like? Script it. How do you want to live? Script that entire scene out. Put yourself in this movie. Script it out. Make that your assignment today and be sure to drop back in the page and tell us the difference that has made for you, first off in thinking, the images that you saw while you were going through that, and then of course, what's the one action you'll take today to cause that, to start the wheels turning, the new journey, to get yourself on that new journey. This is Melva from Self Mastery Thinking Community. We're excited to come to you and we're excited to watch your identity change and everything else around you most definitely will. Most definitely will. I repeat, everything around you most definitely will. Take that courageous action today. Go ahead, do it, my friends. Have a great morning.